Here I am, Brandon
Great.
Sanderson, coming to Maude's Book
Fantastic.
Club.
All right, we'll start that one again. Hello, everyone. Welcome. We've got Brandon Sanderson on the show today for Maude's Book Club. I was just confessing that I'd read the last page of the last current book that is out. Brandon said he makes fun of people that are called last pages, which he did in his little book series that was there. Now that we can hear you, welcome to the show, Brandon. Thank you so much for giving us your time to discuss. Is it going to be hard to not talk spoilers for Rhythm of War and
It
the following
shouldn't be
book?
too hard. Shouldn't be too hard. I'm pretty like I'm a person who's very spoiler averse, and so I pay attention a lot to these things and how to talk around anything that would be spoilerish. So I think I'll be okay. But as the author, once in a while you forget what is in what book, and that can be dangerous sometimes.
First three books is where we're going for this one. Very excited to dive in. The first question that I would like to get through, I know you are a massive geek, and I say that with love, having run a geek company for 12 years. I love to ask people, what are you currently playing, watching, and reading? And do
Okay,
you
so
play games still?
I do. So I am currently reading, that's the easy one, Lord of the Rings, the Andy Serkis audiobook.
Aren't they fantastic?
Yes, they're amazing. I've been wanting to get to those for quite a long time. Ever since Andy Serkis released them, I'm like, I just got to listen to those someday. And I finally said, all right, I'm doing it now. So I'm at the Council of Elrond listening to Andy Serkis do all the parts, and they're really good. Like I remember wanting to kind of skip Tom Bombadil last time I read Lord of the Rings, and this time it was delightful. His voice for Tom Bombadil, all the songs, just it was my favorite part of the book so far.
Oh, I love that. Man, that's such a testament to be able to make that bearable, let me tell you.
Yeah. Well, audiobooks are a different thing. Like I bounced off of Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell the first time I tried to read it, but when I listened to the audiobook, I was transfixed the entire time. So some scenes, some types of writing just work better for me in audiobook.
I agree. And then they can make or break a book. So that's what you're reading. What are you currently playing and watching?
So what am I currently playing? I have the latest game that I have bought is Hades 2.
Oh,
So Hades 2 is like the current thing that I'm launching into, holding my breath for the new Katamari game coming out in a couple of weeks.
okay.
I love the Katamari games. They're very weird if you haven't played them. I love them, but they're very weird. But Hades 2 would be my game right now. And watching, so the last movie I watched was probably K-pop Demon Hunters, and that's been a little while.
I saw you talking about this. We had a big conversation with John Scalzi about K-pop Demon Hunters as well. He named a cat after the Saja Boys.
Oh, did he?
Yes. How good. And I heard you reference K-pop Demon Hunter as epic fantasy, and that hadn't clicked for me until you said so.
Mm-hmm. We get very few epic fantasy films, and so I really enjoyed getting it's got the whole epic fantasy setup of here's the ancient evil, and here's the quest and what we do to defeat it and whatnot. It's a straight up epic fantasy, just happens to be happening in modern day. So I loved K-pop Demon Hunters. I thought it was delightful. Like everyone else, I put the music on my playlist, and I even listened to the album yesterday while working out at the gym. So
favorite song?
I like This Is What It Sounds Like.
Okay.
It's the most epic fantasy of the songs, right? Like I love a song that just builds to symphonically to a big explosive climactic chorus and things like that. So that's my favorite. I know it's not everybody's favorite, but that is my favorite.
I will guarantee cry once the audience starts singing those moments in like the just to support. I'm done. That is the part where I break. Yeah. It's so beautiful. What are you currently? Oh, that's everything. Watching, playing.
Yeah,
reading.
That's everything.
I'm
not in a TV show right now. The last TV show I watched was The Residence, which was also excellent. But that's been a little while.
Fantastic. Thank you for geeking out with me. I want to skip completely to what is happening now. This one's not out until December, but talk me through Tailored Realities. This is a new compilation of your short stories. You are always putting books out. Where did this one come about?
So I like to write a lot of different things. That's just kind of the Brandon hallmark. Is I like to do a ton of different stuff, and when I do science fiction, I tend to find myself in the short fiction realm for whatever reason. Probably because the classic tradition of Asimov and all those guys that wrote the golden age science fiction short stories. So I always end up writing novelettes or novellas or things like that. And eventually we decided to collect them all and put them out. So it's not what people normally expect from me. And if it's not people's cup of tea, that's totally fine. I just find that as a fan, I like it when people put out a collection that just contains everything, so I know I've got it all. Lois Bujold used to do this, where it's just like, now I know I've got them all. And so this is the collection. If you want all of my science fiction short stories, there's a couple new ones as well. Then this is the place to get it. If that's not your cup of tea, that's great. We'll have some more fantasy for you soon.
Do you think it's easier to write shorter, contained stories if it's science fiction over fantasy, which you have to build out from the ground up?
Yep, I really do. Like science fiction, there's like when I write fantasy, I don't like to rely on the fantasy tropes as much. That's kind of one of the things when I consider myself more well-read in fantasy, and I consider myself like pushing fantasy in interesting directions. And so because of that, I don't want to lean on the classic tropes, which you can totally do and write a great short story. If you want to write a great short story about someone who's, out hunting a wizard, like the old classic Conan stories, that's great. But I'm not as interested in that in fantasy. But in science fiction, I'm totally fine leaning on, like FTL just exists. It happens. Like some of these things you don't have to explain in science fiction, where in fantasy I would feel I would need to.
How do these ideas come about? I feel like science fiction, a lot of the time, can be stemmed from a dream or something just kind of occurring, or seeing an idea and then flipping it and being like, well, what if it was this actually?
It's mostly the second one for me.
Okay.
So in Taylor Realities, the new novella, it's about half the length of a normal novel itself. So it's a big chunk of that was just the idea I had for a new type of time travel story where an event happens and there's two people there. One goes forward in time, a certain amount of time, and one goes backward in time. And then they start converging and they have to figure out how to prevent the disaster because the person who goes forward in time ends up in a post-apocalypse. How they can prevent this from happening as one person is moving toward it and one person is living in it. That was just a very fun way to tell a story.
And you did that in a short capacity.
Yeah, well, 50,000 words, so it's not that short. That one's pretty long. Like I said, that's probably a fourth of that book or more, maybe more that you just held up. So,
okay.
Yeah, that's the big cornerstone, anchor story for the collection, the new one.
Fantastic. Are you constantly writing? What are you writing right now?
So I'm working on the new Mistborn trilogy right now.
Mm-hmm.
So for those who don't know, Mistborn, I pitched to my editor long ago as a trilogy of trilogies, an epic fantasy, and then a modern day trilogy, where all the things that happened in the epic fantasy became the foundation of religion and myth, and then a science fiction trilogy. And I ended up putting in the Wax and Wayne books, which are kind of an in-between. And so...
Bless you!
And so I am now finally working on it's 1980s spy thriller Mistborn. And that's what I'm writing. It's called Ghost Bloods.
You've got a thing for heist, don't you?
I love a good heist. Yeah, definitely.
And that's kind of the basis of where Mistborn was born, right?
Yeah, it was. It was, I love heist movies. I love heist stories. Sneakers is one of my favorite movies of all time. And I'm like, I want to write one of these in a fantasy world. Nobody was doing it back then. And then a lot of us came up with the same idea at the same time. And Lies of Locke and Six of Crows both came out around within a few years of Mistborn. We all kind of wanted to do the same thing, which is great. They're both fantastic books. So.
Oh, I love that. I do have a question with the Mistborn world building.
Yes.
I always thought that when someone was only able to possess the ability to push and another person could only develop the ability to pull, how does that establish any sort of balance?
How does that establish balance?
You can only push or you can only pull.
It's very dangerous to you. It's hard to get that balance right. Like but remember, you can push in both directions at once. which can help you to maybe get some of that balance, but you'll get crushed in between if you're not careful. And you can pull in two directions at once. So imagine the balance, like, sometimes you'll have Spider-Man whip and he can pull something and then grab something there and pull them together. You can do that with allomancy in order to get something heavy pulled toward you, but you're going to be the thing in between
the anchor.
them.
Interesting.
So,
okay.
Yeah.
I do love the science behind it all. I'm not into, my whole community knows that I am allergic to science on a good day. I loved the world building of Mistborn. What is it? I do actually have a random question in here because members can submit questions directly, and I thought that this one was quite interesting. Kakahu asks the question, uranium contains roughly 18 million kcal per gram food calories. Oh, this is Lift. This is Edge Dancer. Could Lift eat uranium to get supercharged? I thought it was Vin. It's Lift eating uranium.
So Lift has to be able to metabolize it. So the way that her abilities work, she has to be able to digest it and metabolize it to get the energy out. So she couldn't metabolize uranium. It would just irradiate her.
Got it. Okay. I have been doing a lot of fun research. Isn't that fantastic? Doing a lot of research about your writing styles, and with Mistborn, with Vin, and also with Kaladin, you were writing the character's personality that didn't quite work. How did you crush it so well with Lift?
With Lift. So Lift is one of those characters I've been designing for a long time. And I've been just kind of waiting and excited because she wasn't really supposed to be a big part of it till the second half of Stormlight Archive. But I just couldn't hold myself back. I had to get her in a little earlier. Sometimes a character just works. And it's my job to make sure that you can't tell which ones work on the first try and which ones take 3 or 4 tries. By the final, they should all be equally good. But sometimes you sit down and as a writer, you're like, I have this character. I just have to write this character. And they come out fully formed, springing forth from your forehead like Athena. It just happens. And I wish I could define, I like to break down the process. I like to talk about writing. I wish I could define what the difference was for me, but I don't know what it is even still. Sometimes it's the same thing with books. Sometimes you sit down to write a book and everything works on the first try. Sometimes you sit down and it is just beating your head against a wall to get through that book. And again, it's my job to make sure that you can never tell which is which. But I wish I knew. It's so much easier when it all just flows right out and you don't have to spend forever beating your head against the wall on a book.
You said that Lift was delegated for the second half of the Stormlight Archive. Yes. Is that the second half of the books that are currently out?
No, so I developed the Stormlight Archive as 2 5-book arcs. So you're in the middle of the first 5-book arc. Yeah. And there's actually, this isn't a spoiler because I've announced it from day one. There's a 10-year time skip between book 5 and book 6. So same characters, but we're going to have a time skip. So Lift will be in her 20s when she's a main character for the Stormlight Archive. And she is a main character starting with book 6.
How far through the series are you that second half with the time jump?
With the time jump, I mean, I have an outline. How far is that outline along? It needs a lot of work right now. And so I'm working on that outline. I have book 10 pretty well outlined. I have book 6 pretty well outlined. But like books 7 and 8 are pretty vague still. And
9 is just a blip.
9, so once you get close to the end, it starts to get closer. It's the middle. Like I've got 6 pretty well and 7, okay. 8 is probably the least done. 6 is the most done. 10's the second most done.
Are you heading towards it with trepidation, or are you feeling super, super jazzed about it?
I feel pretty jazzed about it. That said, and again, no spoilers, when I developed my initial outline, I said to people, book 5 is going to be the controversial one, and it has been. Book 5 is the big controversial book. Certain decisions I make, but also some of the things like you're getting into book 4 and 5, and no spoilers, but this is where we have to do some big lore dumps.
Okay.
And I have some very fun ways to get those, but we're focusing a little more on the lore in those two books, so that we have the foundation for what's coming. And I knew that was going to be a little controversial, but also some of the decisions I made in my initial outline were a little controversial. So we'll see when you get there. I think generally I get far less controversy from books 1, 2, and 3 than I get from 4 and 5.
Well, I believe that Words of Radiance is one of my favorite books of all time. It was so cinematic to read. There were fist pump moments. I just loved being along for the adventure. Huge crush on Adolin. How dare you do that to me yet again? I'm becoming a trope at this stage. Blue Shell writes in as a member of book club saying, I know that this would require major spoiler warnings, and I understand if it can't be asked, but we heard there were alternate endings to Stormlight Book 5. Are you willing to share an alternate ending?
So we're not doing spoilers for Book 5. I've talked a little about these, but I tried out 3 different endings on my different reading groups. And kind of the one that ended up is none of the 3. It is an amalgamation of them.
Wow.
But I've tried 3 different things, and I've talked about them other places, so you can kind of find out. But the ending is basically the same. It's just how I got there and some of the details regarding it. And so there's no, I can tell you what those are. Not on this one though. I don't want to give spoilers here for book 5.
That's so fascinating. As a journalist, I'm extrapolating that you have just offered to come back onto Maude's book club. That's great. We'll pencil that in immediately. Thank you so much.
I can talk about book 5. Like I think book 5 is excellent, but it also was knowingly done to aggravate some readers. So,
what kind of readers are you trying to prod?
Yeah, I am. Book 6 is not an aggravating book. So for those who are aggravated by book 5, don't worry. Book 6 is not an aggravating one, but you need to be aggravated now and then. So.
I love that.
Yep.
I know that sounds almost masochistic, but I do love that. What is the window of release date for book 6 then?
So I will start on book 6 as soon as I'm done with the third of the Mistborn, and I'm almost done with the first one of the new trilogy. So I'll write this one this year, book 2 of Ghostbloods next year, and book 3 the year after that, and then I'll start Stormlight the year after that. Stormlight I expect to take a couple of years to write. So it is a little ways off. We're looking at 2030 or 2031. And then after that should go back to about every 3 years.
How easy is it to go from the different mindsets and worlds when writing these drawn out series that are so immersive?
It can be a challenge, but fortunately, like Stormlight is they're all my children. But Stormlight is the book series that I've been planning since I was 15. And like Dalinar is the first character I ever came up with. And so Stormlight it's very easy to slip back into Stormlight. It's very easy to go back to Stormlight. I do have to have a break from it. I need a several-year break after writing it because they take a lot out of me. Right. They are big books with a lot of complex moving pieces. And so my goal is to usually give myself a 2-year break and then go back, sometimes a 3-year break, to a Stormlight book. And, hopping is how I stay productive. I'm always excited to go do something new. And it's always a reward after finishing one book that I get to go back, go do something different. So I'm hoping sometime between now and that I'll be able to write the rock novella called Horn Eater. So we'll be able to find out about Rock and his family and where he comes from and things like that. And theoretically, I'll be writing that between probably books 2 and 3 of Ghostbloods. So there will be a Stormlight book before book 6 that you'll be able to get.
And we get Rock. Thank you on behalf of everyone for that one, because he's just a gem. You did say these characters are like your children, and I understand this could be an unfair question, but favorite character? Have you got a favorite?
So I get to cheat because I got a great cheat answer from Robert Jordan during an interview he gave in the late 90s, where he said, my favorite character is whoever I'm writing right now.
Oh.
And so I get to give that answer. It's a really good answer because as a writer, you need to be really into whoever you're writing at the moment. So I am writing Avon. She is the protagonist of Ghostbloods, and she's my favorite character at the moment.
You really don't ever have to choose, do you?
No, it's just whoever you're writing. They have to be your favorite while you're writing them. You're in their world. They're the protagonist. When you're in their head, that's the entire world is their head. So right now it's her.
I do like that you were saying Dalinar is kind of like the vessel. He's the anchor of where this all came from. And I do apologize. He's
the Cosmere in my whole writing career. Yeah.
Well, I call him Daddy Dalinar. I'm going to not make eye contact with you when I say that because that's just between Dalinar and myself. I feel like he has that stoicism. He does have that weight behind him. And it was Kaladin that you initially wrote with a vastly different personality. What was Kaladin Prime? You call it Way of Kings Prime as the book.
So Kaladin Prime was, when I wrote Way of Kings Prime, Kaladin was me doing something that felt a little too standard tropey for me for fantasy. So original Kaladin, in the opening scene, he saves Ellikar's life and wins Shardblade and Shardblade. He's just a normal soldier on the battlefield, a nobody. And Way of Kings Prime is the story of him entering Light-Eyed Society and learning to be a shard bearer. And so you're kind of very classical young soldier becomes a knight.
A knight. Yes, I know. It's right there. Yeah. And you didn't want to do that.
What's that?
And you didn't want to do that.
He was boring. He was the most boring part of the whole book because he felt too 90s fantasy. There's lots of great stories that I love that have done that. And I could not get him to be it didn't work. He was really bland, and the whole world was really coming together, and the narrative was coming together. But he himself he was the most boring part of the book. Now, some people read Way of Kings Prime and they're like, Brandon, you're wrong. He's wonderful. We love him, and you can absolutely do that. It's the book is free. All of the unpublished books that I like you can just go get. We just put out the text of it. This is the version of Way of Kings I wrote in 2002. And it's where Kaladin, he has a different name. So he was called Marin. I hadn't come up with the Kaladin. Kaladin's a much better name. He wins a shard blade and plate. And then when I sat down to rewrite the book, I wrote it from scratch, started over on page 1. Wow. And I said, I know he made the wrong decision. And we can talk spoilers here. He has to turn down the blade and plate. He has to be the person who says, no, I'm not going to go join your society and become a shard bearer and serve the king. I say no. And that took him in the place that he became the character that I'd been searching for years, the Kaladin who would say no. And so that's where the whole kind of foundation of the new version of Way of Kings came from.
Oh, okay. So is it fair to say that Kaladin is emo?
Yes, Kaladin is emo. It is fair to call Kaladin emo.
Got it. Do you use music to kind of get into and wear the shoes? My video is frozen in the Discord, but we're good in the live stream here. It looks like I'm a little depressed to you right now, but I promise you I'm smiling. Do you get into a mood, a mindset using music, or can you just get in the zone?
I can get in the zone, but I do prefer to use music, particularly before I write every day, I do a short workout for 30 minutes and I turn on music that is thematic to what I'm going to be writing that day. And I go over in my head what I'm going to write. And these playlists are on Spotify. I Mistborn 1 on Spotify. Someone had snatched Mistborn by the time that I made a Spotify account. But
I will find them and I will hunt them down.
Yeah. They're mostly I've got a Stormlight 3 and a 4 playlist on there, I think, maybe even a Stormlight 5. But they're just epic music. They're epic soundtrack music type stuff. That said, once in a while for a scene, I'll need something that isn't on that list. Whenever Zeth comes up, for whatever reason, I would put on Daft Punk when I needed to write a Zeth scene.
I can hear that during his combat.
Yep. Yeah. Particularly their live 2007 Daft Punk, just like, that's Zeth's soundtrack for whatever reason.
That's so
And
good.
I can see myself occasionally popping up some emo music. Kaladin would love his My Chemical Romance.
Oh, he is
that would be
sad
his
boy,
jam.
depressed. Absolutely.
Mhm.
Oh,
Yeah.
I love that. I
Yeah.
love that you also have the Spotify playlist and have made that public. A lot of
Yeah.
authors will do that, which I love because
Mhm.
I love also like having music that support the words that I'm reading as well. Like it just adds another element to it. It's interesting here. Lisa has a comment which is correlating between K-pop Demon Hunters, which is a soundtrack that you've been listening to lately a lot. Is there a correlation between shard blades and the weapons they have in K-pop Demon Hunters, or was that just the happiest coincidence?
It must have been a happy coincidence. They sure do look a little bit like shard blades, though, don't they?
Sure
They
do.
pop out of nowhere. They glow a little bit more than shard blades, but I would assume that the creators are looking for the same thing that I'm looking for, which is big, cool weapons are really awkward to carry around. So let's do something that we can deal with them between needing them. I'm going to guess it's a narrative expediency rather than any actual connection. Though I would love it if the creators of K-pop Demon Hunters had read Stormlight. That would be awesome. But I don't have any reason to think that they have.
And instead of 10 heartbeats, it's just 10 beats of the new song coming in.
Yeah, there you are.
That would be amazing. Some of the other Stormlight questions here has from Katie, who actually also wants to know about your favorite Utah ice cream, which I've not heard of before. I'm Australian. But Katie also says, has there been a food in your life that was strange and you didn't try, and then once you did, you loved it? What was your bridge for enjoying chowder moment?
Chowta. Yes, this happens to me all the time, right? Well, it doesn't anymore because I've tried a lot of things now and I'm much more open-minded on that. But when I was a kid, I didn't like mayo. I insisted mayo looked gross and I
Okay.
would not eat it on anything. And no one could put it on. And then I was like, it took until I was like a late teenager. I was like 18 and I got a sandwich and it had mayo and I didn't know it. And I ate the sandwich. I'm like, oh, wow, this is amazing. Oh, no, it's mayo. Oh, I like mayo now. But I can remember, trying Thai food for the first time and being like, this is now one of my favorite things. Why have I never tried this? So it took a few times on kimchi. Kimchi wasn't an instant like. It took a little bit of effort to like kimchi.
Fair enough. It's so good for you, though, but it is a little farty.
Yes, it is.
Katie also says, what is your favorite BYU creamery ice cream? And why is it Graham Canyon?
I mean, Grand Canyon is pretty good. When I was there, see, I don't get to the BYU Creamery that often anymore. When I was there was a Lavelle Edwards flavor that I really liked, which was like a vanilla with some caramely things in it. That was the one I always got. That was the football coach at the time. It's no longer the same football coach. So they've been doing very well these last few years. So I'm a sucker for vanilla with something in it. Vanilla is too boring, but vanilla with prowlings in it, caramel swirl, all of that stuff. That's what I love. I don't like chocolate ice cream. I like chocolate.
I don't either.
I like chocolate cake, but I don't like chocolate flavored ice cream.
Vanilla is the canvas that you paint upon.
Yes, exactly. Yep.
Thank you. I'm a sprinkles
So
girl.
you're in the UK, right? You said.
I'm Australian, but I live in
you're
LA.
Australian.
Yes.
No, you live in LA. Okay, never mind. I have a bone to pick with the people in the UK. Though Australia knows its way around ice cream. I've enjoyed my ice cream when I've been there. It's just those in the UK. They don't know what they're doing.
I love it. This is the platform. Sorry, Brits.
Yeah. Yep.
Pull your socks up, guys. That's unacceptable. We like ice cream around here.
You're in LA right now, huh?
I am. I've been here for quite some time now. 12 years.
It is a weird place. I love it, but it is weird.
I have 4 different ice creameries in walking distance from where I am.
Are any of them I had a really good ice cream in LA that was they made it fresh with liquid nitrogen right there. And it was like they mixed it for you with the cream and it was one of the best ice creams I've had.
No, that's not one of them because I have that would be so dangerous for me. I'll say that much.
I think it was over in maybe it might have been in Beverly Hills.
Got it. There is one of them. It's called Salt and Straw, and they will just do the most curveball ingredients. One of them at the moment, it's a Halloween one. And I was like, what is in this thing called ghouls and grubs or whatever? And they're like, oh, there's actual like chocolate covered crickets and insects in it. And I'm just like,
okay,
why have you got to do that? Like,
yeah.
Anyway, I don't mean to slam a brand here as we're talking. Actually, that's not a bad segue with Brandon Sanderson. Okay, I'm just putting it out there that if you ever wanted to slam a brand, that's a
true.
good name.
That is, yeah.
The cogs are turning.
We'll keep that. Yeah, we'll keep that in mind. I do have my own ice cream flavor. Do you know that?
No, I did not. What is it?
It's called the Sanderlanche.
Oh, nice. I mean, obviously.
There's a local ice cream place that makes ice cream and has like a different flavor every month. And they came and said, well, do you want to make a flavor? And so I made a flavor. It was a butterscotch. Do you know what an oatmeal scotchy is?
No, but it sounds like I would like it.
Cookie. It's oatmeal and butterscotch. They actually make the cookies and mash them up and put them in the ice cream. So it's like chocolate chip. It's like cookie dough, except it's cooked cookies, but they're oatmeal scotchies. So,
oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I haven't had dinner yet, so you need to calm down because this all sounds quite delightful. I do have a very interesting question now that we're kind of doing a fun play on names here. Ken he's asking, do other people say your name in the inflection of Agent Smith from The Matrix, or is it just me, Mr. Sanderson?
Yeah.
All the time?
Oh, as soon as The Matrix came out, all of my friends, Mr. Sanderson. Yes.
Okay.
All the time. So not just you. I get that. The other nickname I get is Brando Sando. Lots of Brando Sando enjoyers out there.
I am a Brando Sando because I'm an Aussie and we abbreviate EVs, so that's just what we do. So, yeah.
Yeah, Brando Sando. My kids started calling me Brando Sando. Yeah.
Is that okay?
On the internet, yep.
Okay. That's like when I started calling my mum by her first name and she just found the top of my ear and pulled it until that never happened again.
Well, there's precedent in our family because my mother is known as the Goober.
Oh.
And since before I was born, her nickname was the Goober. And so I always called her Goober and Mom, but also Goober. And my kids call her Grandma Goober. And even her sisters and her mother call her Goober. So I am no one to speak if my kids use a nickname for me.
Passing it on the mantle. I like that. We've got a couple more Stormlight questions that I'll quickly get through. Blue Shell says, how do you decide to reveal key backstory moments like what we've just seen with Dalinar's past? How do you do your info lore dumps?
So with Stormlight in particular, I wanted to do the present narrative and flashback narrative dual thing. You need a lot of space to do these correctly. And it's hard to pull off in other books that just don't have the space for it. And I want to do this. It's just one of my favorite methods of storytelling, having the nonlinear story and being able to dig deeply into someone's past. So when I did my initial outlines, I matched a past to a book. And then I ended up moving Dalinar's to book 3 from book 5 and moving Zeth's to book 5 during actual writing. Those two were swapped.
Interesting.
The main reason is I feel I couldn't keep Dalinar's from you any longer. It had been too long and he was too much a main character. I could keep Zeth's backstory a little more mysterious because he just isn't a main character as much as the others. I mean, he is, but he's not getting as much screen time as Dalinar.
He's elusive as well, though.
Yeah. So Oathbringer really came together with those flashbacks. So I just decided ahead of time. I'll prepare you for Rhythm of War, I think, has the weakest of them. And this is one of these things where ahead of time, I hadn't realized it. So Rhythm of War, you're going to get flashbacks for Venli and for Eshonai. And in the writing of Words of Radiant and Oathbringer, I brought out enough of their backstory that by the time I got and told it in Rhythm of War, I'm like, this feels a little repetitive. In fact, it was only going to be Eshonai. I added Venli to bounce back and forth to make it feel more fresh. But Rhythm of War turned into a Navani book as much as it is an Eshonai and Venli book. Because I'd already dug into a bunch of that stuff. So I do think Rhythm of War has the weakest flashbacks. But the others I all think pretty much are on the same tier. So I'm pleased with how those turned out. In retrospect, I wish I would have just done a Navani flashback sequence for Rhythm of War. But I wanted to get some of those singer voices in, those listeners, so that there was some more variety of the different cultures being represented.
Well, Kaldava says, I love Venli and Eshonai's flashbacks. So, you know.
That's good to hear.
But also, well, I was going to say,
very glad to hear that. They are the dark horse, though. I think just because you already know enough about some of the mysteries that happened with them by the time you get to them. And then we get back to book 5, which is Szeth. And again, a lot of Szeth's path is mysterious again, so I can do a lot of reveals in interesting ways. And Szeth's flashbacks really landed for me.
Okay. I do love it. We are tackling Rhythm of War in December, and you've just really sold it strong here with us, Brandon. So
I'll tell you this. Navani in Rhythm of War was such a delight. She works wonderfully.
She's always been cool, though. I like her a lot.
She gets a lot in this next one. And I think of the entirety of the first 5 books, the best villain is in Rhythm of War.
Okay, thank you. All right.
Yes.
All right, Maude's Book Club, we're back on it. December is happening. Really excited for that one. There is a question here about Szeth saying, when starting Way of Kings, this is from Katie, did you foresee Szeth becoming such a favorite character?
I hoped, right? You can read, he's in Way of Kings Prime. He has a different name. Most everybody does, except even Dalinar, I spell it differently in Way of Kings Prime. So you can read, he was there from the get-go and basically the same person. I was hoping that people would come to love Szeth. But he's neuroatypical. He doesn't present on the page the same way as everybody else does. And so I wasn't sure what the reaction would be.
Oh, okay. You have vastly different characters, though. You cover such a gamut of personalities. It kind of feels like there's room for it.
Right? I want to explore the different ways people just live and interact. How I explore the world. I try to see through a variety of different people's eyes as I write.
Beautiful. Do you have like people that they're based on, or?
Sometimes. Most often, if someone's based, it's more that I found a conflict. Famously, Elantris, the female protagonist, was based on, I had a friend at the time, she's 6 foot, well, 5'11" and a half.
5'11".
Yes. I had never, being a guy who's 6'1", I had never realized that there were challenges to being a woman that was so far above the standard deviation. And she talked about it a lot. And I'm like, that's a cool conflict. I've never had someone have to deal with that. And then I took that and just like one other aspect of her personality, how my friend Annie kind of, there are people who create drama in a way that is kind of miserable, and there's people who create drama in a way that just makes everyone happy and laugh. And Annie is one of those. She somehow creates drama because it's all inward focused on her that makes you laugh. She's very self-effacing. And I like this idea of like drama that is fun, mixed with this, I'm too tall. And that spun me into the character of Serene, who was the protagonist there. But you can see it's like a few aspects of a person. And so I'm not trying to capture this person. I'm just intrigued by a certain aspect of them.
I also heard that Tress was sort of based on my favorite movie of all time, The Princess Bride.
Yes, it was. You ought to. So Tress, we showed during COVID. We showed Princess Bride to my kids, and they enjoyed it. And it holds up. It's so wonderful.
It's the best movie of all time.
Afterward, my wife, we were joking about it, and she loved it too. But she's like, "Isn't it funny how useless the princess is in her own movie? we were joking about how, I don't know if you remember, when the Rats of Unusual Size come out and grab Wesley, she tries to hit one with a log, and she can't even hit a rat with a log. Is that useless? It's kind of a joke.
She can hold her breath for a very long time.
Yeah, that's true. She can hold her breath for a very long time. And if you read the book version, it's part of the joke, right? Like William Goldman's text, like everyone is an enormous exaggeration of a personality, and it's just delightful. Yeah, there it is, the Princess Bride. But Emily said, pointed that out, and she said, like, if you got captured by pirates, I would go find you.
Aww.
And I'm like, well, there's a book. And so I wrote the book as, a young woman is in love with a young man, and he vanishes at sea. And no one's going to go find him because they're all kind of happy. It's convenient that he's gone to them.
Okay.
And so she's like, well, I have to go do it. And so she goes out to find him. And that's what inspired Tress of the Emerald Sea.
I love that. I will say that I know you love the book as well. I do believe that this is one of about 4 books where the movie's better.
It is, and it's mostly because if you read the book, the frame story with the grandpa and Fred Savage is not in the book, and the frame story he uses is kind of cringe and painful. And he meant it to be, but it really is not as wonderful as the rest of the book. And replacing that with the story of a grandfather and a grandson is just so delightful that it elevates it. Now, we can say that because William Goldman wrote both the screenplay and the book, so he decided to make this change. But yeah, the movie is better than the book, but the book is well worth reading. They just skip a lot of the frame story sections. They're short and they're kind of painful. It's about how a son hates his dad, and it really doesn't match the whimsical, wonderful feel of it.
There is some pretty good extra backstory behind Fezek, and
there is.
That was quite beautiful. But you're right, the movie's better.
Seen, as an aside, Once Upon a Deadpool?
No.
Do you have any idea what this is? So the Deadpool movies.
Yes.
When Fox got acquired by Disney, Ryan Reynolds and people are like, Disney's not going to do R-rated Deadpool movies. What do? They recut Deadpool 2 to be PG-13.
Oh, okay.
And
was it 12 minutes long?
No, they went and they got Fred Savage, and the story is it opens on Deadpool having kidnapped Fred Savage and tied him to a bed in a set that looks like the room from Princess Bride, and Deadpool has a storybook he's drawn of the movie Deadpool 2 that he's going to tell to him, and anytime it gets too violent or whatnot, it cuts, and Deadpool says, but you can't, I can't tell you that part.
Yeah, like kissing stuff is the same thing. Yeah.
Meanwhile, Fred Savage is like, I'm an adult now. I could totally hear this. By the way, let me go. And Deadpool's like, no. And then keeps telling the story, and it goes
great. Well, that's my weekend.
Yeah. It's hard to get. You have to buy the DVD, but it's better than Deadpool 2 because it just has more joke density per minute. So anyway.
Also, anything that's Princess Bride adjacent has already won my heart. So
it's really fun. If Deadpool is your thing, which it's not everybody's thing, then Once Upon a Deadpool is an elevation of Deadpool 2, which is already the strongest Deadpool movie. So.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I've got some writing questions because we've only got about 15 minutes left of our interview. Yeah. Also, my mouse doesn't work, so I can't click any buttons, which is fantastic for me. Vaden says, what is your favorite constraint in your novels or in writing that becomes broken?
That becomes broken? I don't know. Usually my favorite constraint is saying my characters can't violate the rules of the magic. They just have to figure out how to use what they have. But I don't break that one. What's my favorite constraint that I actually break? I would say that people don't understand the term show don't tell. Because you usually want to show instead of tell, but once in a while you want to break that and tell. And knowing when to show and when to tell is actually the rule, because telling is way faster and showing takes way more time. So show versus tell. How about that?
Love it. You teach a lot about writing, and I feel like if anyone wants to go on a journey of writing any sort of fantasy with world building, characters, and plot, you are the go-to person. How much did you learn about writing as a teacher?
Oh, so much. When you have to sit down and define what you do and then listen to other people say, no, that's not how I do it, and then experiment with how they do things, you learn so much. I would say that the podcast writing excuses that I did for many years before going emeritus was a big help for this, because I got to listen to lots of other people's opinions and had to learn to break my process down. But certainly the class has been a big part of that as well. Just once you have to define how does this work, it helps you understand your own process. It's really helpful for me. I generally don't have writer's block, and part of that is because I'm so good at being able to define, oh, here's what's going wrong, and things like that.
Okay. In our book club, says Katie, we've got a lot of discussions, and we've had them recently about authors' use of names. When you create a new character in any of your books, do you have a process on how they receive a name? I do enjoy all the Easter egg names that appear of people that you mention in the author notes and thank yous.
Yes. So I've got a bunch of different ways. For a lot of my books, I come up with a naming convention, and I go kind of nerd out on the linguistics for a little while, and then come up with sounds that they use and they don't use, and things like that. And so the bigger the book series, the more I'm likely to have on that. For other ones, I will just say, all right, I want a feel that feels a little bit like this linguistic paradigm. For instance, in Mistborn, the central dominance was French-inspired. And so that's where you end up with names like Vin, which is just, wine in French. And I say Kelsier, but they would say Kelsier. And Demo and things like this. And so that can be useful. Sometimes it's just a linguistic quirk. Warbreaker, I used repeated consonant sounds for names. So you get with Vivina and Teteller and things like this, that kind of stutter is a hallmark of their linguistics. Thalen's, it's like, here they don't use a lot of vowels. Here's the constructions they use without vowels that we would put vowels in.
Wow.
But it really just depends on the book. And it also has to pass the vibe test, right? Like when I created the original Kaladin named Marin, it fit everything and it just never worked. It just isn't a cool name for somebody as cool as Kaladin. And so I had to spend a lot of time. And I actually, since a lot of the linguistics there have some Arabic origins, I started with the name Khalid and built out of that. So.
Oh, okay. How does it feel now knowing that people are naming their children after Kaladin?
Yeah, this has been an interesting one because Kaladin is the name that is taken off from my books. You'll find, people named fantasy names, now and then, but Kaladin got enough people naming in the last census that it entered like the high percentage names, like, not as much like Matthew and stuff, but it was actually trackable. Most names, if you go to the database, it's like not enough names to show up. And there's not a lot of fantasy names. Obviously, Wendy is the big one that was invented by a fantasy author with Peter Pan. But you see a decent number of Arwyns. And Kaladins, just a lot of Kaladins, which has been really cool to see. They often come to me like, all right, treat him well because we named our kid after him. But yeah.
Have you met any other of the characters' names that have, people have said, have they showed you tattoos? Have they showed you other names that they've named their children after?
I've met my first Syl recently.
Okay.
Met my first Syl. I meet a lot of people that are named after Wheel of Time characters, but that's kind of easy because Rand is not that uncommon a name in English, and Matt, and even Perrin doesn't sound, you meet a lot of Rands and a lot of Matts and an occasional Perrin. But I have met lots of pets named after my characters. So many pets. Usually it's through a picture, not the actual pet at the Comic Con or wherever they are. But yeah.
What's the most bonkers tattoo you've seen?
Ooh, I mean, the ones where people do full sleeves based on my books, where it's got all the intricate parts, I'd say that's the most hardcore and the coolest. When you see just like they're doing the entire sleeve dedicated to Stormlight, and you see the pieces. Though I'd say the weirdest is when people want me to sign their arm so they can tattoo the signature.
How many times has that happened?
It's happened. It's dozens of times. And I feel bad because my signature is not as pretty as, like, I don't know, if you go look at Tolkien's signature, it's like, oh, it's, Robert Jordan had the best one. It's so pretty. All those old school writers, learned how to do calligraphy in school and would do these flowing. And I was, my signature is a symbol more than it is words.
Well, also, Tolkien wasn't signing 50,000 sleeves every single year at the same time.
He was not signing 50,000 copies a year.
And if I've learned anything about you, Brandon, it's that the efficiency is up there.
I have them right here, but I decided not to sign during this one. When I'm here for something else, the signing is done if I when I'm doing an interview like this, I want to be able to look up and,
Thank you. I actually did wonder. I wondered if I was going to get the multitasking Brandon, which in itself is so impressive.
It is fun. We were talking about before, and people were like, "Oh, people think it's fun." I'm like, "Yes, they'll think it's fun, but once in a while, it's good to just have my full attention."
I do appreciate that. Meanwhile, it's me that is floundering because my mouse is no longer working, so I won't be able to button off this interview, which will end in 7 minutes, and I'm actually panicking about that. And I have a bunch of questions that I can't scroll down to read. So
technology, right?
I'm telling you, I was saying this before, that anytime there's technology and to do with me, so of course I decided to become a digital host. Like, where is the fun in that one?
Well, Octavia is here watching it. She can see if any questions came up in the scroll, maybe.
There you go. And yeah, I'm going to solicit right now, if anyone's got a question that they would like to put in the chat, especially the members, do me a solid and get that back happening right now. There you go.
At us. Okay.
Blue Shell has actually highlighted one, and this is something that I can easily spend the next 7 minutes talking about. Adolin's character and story arc thus far. What are some things that you consider while writing to ensure a non-radiant character narratively is still compelling in a world dominated by superpower characters?
Well, as you can see with Adolin, that kind of becomes his thing, where he's like, what's my place? This was his whole arc through Oathbringer is like, I used to be the most important person on the battlefield, and now I'm not anymore. And that characters, like magicisms, are often about what they can't do. And so the character who is not able to do something is fruitful ground for coming up with conflict and writing a character.
Han Solo.
Adolin is the big surprise, right? Like, Adolin was not meant to be a main character. I don't know if you know this story. I wrote the first book, the 2008 version, the one that you've read. I wrote a big chunk of it without Adolin being a main character. And I had this problem in that Dalinar wasn't working. The problem being Dalinar was feeling too wishy-washy, because in the first book, I was having him be really uncertain about if the visions he was seeing were true or not, or if he was going crazy. And it led him to being really inactive. And I rewrote a bunch of those things, pulling all of those feelings out and putting them into Adolin instead. Adolin being worried that his elderly, not that elderly, but his aging father was being taken by some of the same problems that had taken his grandfather, and had some early onset dementia. What do we do? I love my dad, and I feel like that he's going crazy. And then let Dalinar be more confident in himself and what he was seeing. And that made the dynamic between them more interesting, and it also made Dalinar way more proactive. He was doing things rather than sitting and worrying about what was happening. And so Adolin then became a main character. And so I then experimented with how I was going to be using him in the next books. And the whole outline got rebuilt around Adolin now being a main character. So,
and Shallan, that was never happening in the original.
It was going to happen. Okay. It was just from her viewpoint, right?
Right.
It wasn't going to be. He wasn't going to be getting those viewpoints that he's gotten. And you notice he still gets less than Kaladin, Shallan, and Dalinar, who are the core of what the first 5 books. It's those 3 characters. But at the same time, he got way more than he was planned to get. And he added a whole lot to the book. And you can see Oathbringer, he gets plenty of viewpoints. And you'll see he does a lot of heavy lifting in book 5 as well. In fact, my favorite sequence in book 5 is Adolin's sequence.
Oh, I love that.
So, yeah.
Okay. Let's talk about the Cosmere as a whole. Obviously, you've decided to have them all within the same universe here. Is that something that you'd always set out to do? Or was it a measure of convenience having this shared storied universe together?
So it's actually a little of both. Okay. When I was unpublished and I wrote those 13 novels, I started putting them in the same universe more for fun for me, because I like big epics and I felt like I wasn't in a place where I could sell a big epic yet. So I just started putting these little connections in for fun. Then I sold Elantris and I sat down to write Mistborn, and I said, one of my favorite things that I've seen in fiction is when Asimov combined the Robots book and the Foundation books. And I said, and it really felt like he came up with that late in life that he put them together. And I thought, can I take that and can I do it from the get-go? Can I have this big story that's connecting everything from day one? And so I sat down and I wrote Mistborn knowing and having built the Cosmere, but Elantris was retrofitted into it.
Okay.
When I wrote Elantris, I didn't know, I didn't have any of this. And I developed it over the next 5 years as I wrote the next books, all of which were unpublished. And so I was able then to sit down and be like, I'm doing this for real. And so it is very conscious. From day one on Mistborn, the Cosmere is a thing, and I had locked down Adonalsium and the shards of Adonalsium and what all these things are. So I kind of get to have both. Those 13 books unpublished for me were a really good thing for my career in hindsight. It didn't feel that way when I was trying to get published and I was having all these books get rejected. But it was really great to hit the ground running with Mistborn with 13 books of sort of practice writing the Cosmere before I had to write it.
I feel like you're one of the few people that can write that many books and it spur you on and give you more drive, which is unheard of a lot of the time with people thinking, we're conditioned to think if you write a book, you need to sell it.
Yeah. Yep. And early in my career, my first 5 books, I didn't really try to sell. I heard that your first books are usually pretty bad. And I'm like, that's good. It takes the pressure off me. I can just write and enjoy the writing, and I don't have to try to sell anything. And it was when I sat down to write book 6, which is the one that ended up selling, that I said, that I'm going to now do the thing that is my career. I'm going to write epic fantasy, and this is what I love. And then I wrote that, and I wrote a book called Dragonsteel, and I wrote a book called White Sand, which were kind of like the foundation of what became the Cosmere.
Are you Hoid?
No, I'm not Hoid. There is a bit of my humor to Hoid, for sure.
Loves a story.
Hoid, does love a story. There's some of me in every character and some things that are different from me. Hoid is meaner than I am, quite a bit meaner than I am. Hoid is selfish, and he knows this. But he is more selfish than I would like to be. And he is more of a meddler than I would want to be. And things like that. He's more opinionated about things and whatnot. Like, I have opinions, but I'm very much the author who likes to see through a lot of different eyes. Hoid, less so. So there's aspects of me, but there's aspects of me in every character.
Got it.
I often say, it's hard to pick who I'm closest to for that reason, though Hoid and I do share a sense of humor.
Okay. I do love that. He's almost your shadow self as well. It's all of the bad ramped up just a little bit more than you're comfortable with. A lot of chat happening about Dragonsteel. Is that one ever going to be published?
Yeah, we did. The last crowdfunding we released what's called Dragonsteel Prime.
Oh, there you go.
And people can go read it. It's the origins of the Shattered Plains. I eventually took that off the Planet Yolen and put it into the Stormlight Archive. It's a little weaker than Way of Kings Prime, but it's still one of those unpublished books that's totally readable, and it's not terrible. I think people enjoy it. We released it for free. Again, you can buy a print copy from us off our website if you want it, but I released it for free. All my old books like that I don't think are of current Brandon skill level, I don't want to charge people with unless they want an artifact for their shelf as like a collector's item.
Oh, that's sweet. You built your whole company around Dragonsteel, the concept then?
Yep, and there will be a book series called Dragonsteel eventually that is Hoid's backstory. That is fully outlined, and someday I'll be able to write it.
Fantastic. Yeah. Well, that is absolutely our time. I will let you go. I have no idea how to stop this show, and I will have to fumble around with some chords to sort that one out. But Brandon, thank you so much for sharing an hour with me to talk not only about the way that you write, but also the wonderful books and characters that you have created as well. I really appreciate your time. And if you're not following Brandon Sanderson on all the social medias and TikTok, make sure you do that right now. Is there anything that people should be pre-ordering? Is there a way that they can get to Dragonsteel Con happening in December?
So Dragonsteel Nexus is sold out.
It is, okay.
But we'll do another one next year. No, I appreciate you guys. You know where to find me. There's no need to do a hard sell right here. I just appreciate you. I get to do the life. I get to